When you think about what it's like to be a teenager in America today, it's a lot. We see the headlines, right? We scroll past the social media posts. But what's really going on beneath the surface? Let's dive in and really try to unpack the complex world modern teens are living in, based on what the research is telling us.
This quote, wow, it really hits home, right? Silent depression. It perfectly captures this idea that there's a huge disconnect between how teens look on the outside, totally functional, busy, always connected, and what's actually happening internally. And that's really the theme for our whole explainer, what we see versus what we don't.
All right, so let's start with the tip of the iceberg. The stuff that's pretty easy to see, the challenges we hear about all the time. These are those external pressures that are just constantly there in a teenager's world.
Okay, first up, let's talk about school. The pressure here is just immense. For so many kids, success has become all about the grades, the test scores, the GPA. And that often comes at a huge cost to things like, actually learning or being curious. And most importantly, it comes at the cost of their mental well-being. This is way more than just normal stress. It's a perfect recipe for complete burnout.
And then you've got the whole social world. Think about it. Bullying used to be something you could hopefully escape from when the school bell rang, but that's just not how it works anymore, right? With cyberbullying, the harassment is relentless. It's inescapable. It follows them right home into what's supposed to be their safest space, their own room, all through that little screen in their hand. And of course, we see new ways of coping pop up. And vaping is a huge one. It gets passed off as this harmless social thing to do, but let's be real, at its core, it's just a powerful nicotine addiction hiding behind candy-like flavors. And on top of all that, there's this really fundamental threat to their feeling of safety. Just think about it. The constant news cycle about school violence, the reality of doing active shooter drills, all of that has basically woven this background noise of fear and anxiety into the everyday act of just going to school. So, okay, these are the things we can see, right? The symptoms. But this stuff doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It doesn't appear out of thin air. So that really makes you wonder, what's driving all of it? What's going on beneath the surface that's causing all these problems we see on top? So now let's go below the waterline. Let's talk about the part of the iceberg that we can't see. This is that huge hidden world of all the internal battles they're fighting. These are the struggles that can go completely unnoticed, but believe me, they have a massive impact. Let's start with the digital world, because the connection to mental health is undeniable. All that screen time, it's not just a distraction. It's actually been shown to mess with your focus and impulse control. And then you have social media, which is basically an endless, perfectly polished highlight reel of everyone else's life, which can just crush your self-esteem. And now we're even seeing terrifying new threats like AI and deepfakes being used for pure humiliation and blackmail. And here's the thing, the digital world never sleeps. It's on 24/7. And that has a real biological cost. All that late night scrolling totally messes with sleep. And sleep is absolutely critical for a teenager's brain development, for their ability to handle their emotions. So when sleep starts to go, honestly, everything else can start to fall apart too. Here's another hidden factor, and it's something called parental stress transfer. The idea is pretty simple. Teens are like sponges. They're incredibly perceptive, so they absorb all the anxiety that's in their house, stress about finances or work, or just the state of the world, and they often make it their own. Instability in their personal lives, that's another huge hidden stressor. We're talking about things like family conflict or breakdown, dating violence, or even just feeling like there's no emotional support from the adults around them. These kinds of pressures can leave really deep emotional scars. And the worst part? The stigma around mental health often stops them from even asking for help when they desperately need it. And then there's the future. And for them, it's not some vague, distant worry. It's a whole collection of very specific, very real fears. You've got the economic anxiety, like, how am I going to pay for college? Will I even get a job? Then there's the heavy weight of climate anxiety, this feeling of inheriting a broken planet. And on top of all that, there's the deep, personal struggle of just trying to figure out who you are in a world that feels more and more chaotic. Okay, so we've looked at the pressures on the surface and we've looked at the struggles happening underneath. But here is the most important part. These are not two separate things. They are completely, totally, fundamentally connected. Let's take a look at how this whole thing fits together. It's basically a vicious cycle. It all starts with that hidden anxiety we've been talking about, from their family, the future, their online world. So to cope, a teen might grab onto something visible, right? Like their phone or vaping. But then those things make it harder to focus at school, harder to manage their feelings, which just cranks up the academic pressure and the mental health problems. And then the whole cycle just repeats, and it gets more intense every time.
So if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. Those visible pressures we see, the academic burnout, the vaping, all the online drama, they're really just the symptoms. The real problem, the root cause of the struggle, is buried much, much deeper.
Look, just understanding this complex reality is a huge first step. But it leaves us with a really important question, doesn't it? If this is the world they're living in, if this is the anatomy of their anxiety, how do we go from just being observers to actually starting the kinds of conversations that can lead to real support and real understanding?